That night, the wind blowing over Timbuktu felt strangely heavy, a weight even the desert spirits seemed to avoid. Within the hallowed walls of Sankoré, the great library was a maze of flickering torchlight. Scholars whispered hurried prayers. Scribes sealed ancient scrolls into clay jars for safekeeping, and warriors patrolled the corridors, their hands trembling slightly on their swords. The news had spread like a wildfire. Constantine's forces had crossed the Niger River, and they were no longer just marching, they were hunting. At the very heart of the library, a young mystic named Aminata Kanda knelt before the map of echoes. It was a sacred tablet, believed to reveal threats that existed beyond the physical world. Suddenly, her eyes rolled back into her head as a powerful vision seized her. She saw ironclad soldiers moving like shadows across the sand. She saw fires devouring manuscripts older than any living kingdom, and then she saw him, Constantine himself, standing atop a dune, holding a spear that pulsed with an unnatural, eerie light. It was a foreign artifact, something not born of Africa, but stolen. Aminata gasped, her consciousness snapping back into her body. "They carry a relic," she whispered, her voice shaking with fear, "one that can silence spirits." Just then, the gates of Timbuktu shuddered under the force of a deafening blast that echoed across the desert. War drums began to pound a frantic rhythm. Civilians scrambled for safety in the inner courtyards. General Mansa Zuberi, the fierce leader of the Desert Guard, raised his gleaming blade to the sky. "We do not fear the invader," he roared, his voice booming over the rising chaos. "We are the keepers of memory, and memory does not die." 1,000 spears lifted in response, a forest of sharpened steel. But deep down Zuberi feared what Aminata's vision foretold. Constantine's army struck with a power unlike anything Zuberi had ever faced. Their cannons didn't just roar with gunpowder. The blasts carried strange echoes, distortions in the air itself, as if the relic was amplifying their destructive force. The main gates cracked under the assault. A second strike hit, and the sacred walls of Timbuktu trembled violently. Dust and smoke filled the air, choking the defenders. Women screamed, elders began reciting ancient protective chants, their voices a low hum against the sounds of war. Aminata rushed to Zuberi's side, grabbing his arm. "The relic is weakening our spiritual shields," she warned, her eyes wide with urgency. "If they reach Sankoré, the knowledge of 1,000 years will fall into darkness." Zuberi gave a grim nod. "Then we make our stand in the sand, before they can ever touch these walls." He prepared to lead his men into a desperate battle. But just as Constantine's forces began to march through the smoke-filled breach, a horn sounded from the eastern dunes. It was a sound unlike any other, deep, ancient, and powerful, resonating in the very bones of the earth. Zuberi froze, his battle cry dying in his throat. Aminata's eyes widened in disbelief. "That is impossible," she breathed. From the swirling desert mist, silhouettes began to emerge. They were tall, cloaked figures, carrying spears carved with symbols far older than Timbuktu itself. They were the Dogon Star-Watchers, the mystic guardians of the deep desert, a legendary people who hadn't been seen for generations. Their leader stepped forward, his voice echoing like rolling thunder across the battlefield. "Timbuktu will not fall tonight," he declared. "Not to Constantine, not to foreign relics, not while the ancestors still breathe." He raised his staff, and with a single, powerful gesture, the sand around him began to rise, swirling into a furious, protective storm. The battle was just beginning. The relic pulsed with dark power, and the Star-Watchers had returned.